Hey all, great stories today, don't waste time, jump right in. Editor's note, this is a special, 2-post lasting, main story and side story, double whammy wombliny. The first was posted on Entitled Parents about a month ago and the second on ProRevenge a few days ago. But since they are about the same story, I let them into one video. Enjoy. End of editor's note. Trigger warning, child abuse, sexual assault. Backstory, I met my wifey, in high school, and she was 6 months pregnant at the time. The bio father, DBD, was a complete deadbeat, and the only reason I even met the two of them is because my friend was sleeping with DB behind wifey's back and wanted to introduce me to him. When the baby, DD, was born, DBD dropped out of school and changed his number to avoid wifey and the new baby. By the time DD was 8 months old, wifey and I had started dating. We graduated together, moved across the state to college, and went on with our lives as a happy little family. Fast forward 5 years. We have never heard from DBD, and until DD was 3.5 years old, she and wifey still technically lived with wifey's mom on breaks and such in the same house they had always been, just a few blocks from DBD. Out of the blue, he sends us a message on Facebook asking to have DD over for the weekend. Apparently he had gotten his new girlfriend pregnant and they had rushed to get married. Now the new wife, we'll call her Psycho, wanted DBD to have his daughter back. It had been 5 years, she didn't know him, and we didn't know what to say at first. Out of curiosity, we checked out both DBD and Psycho's profiles, and I nearly fainted. For nearly a year, Psycho had been collecting photos of DD from anyone's profile that would share a picture of her. Not only that, she was posting them on her profile as if she had been the one to take them. This included shots from a Mother's Day photo shoot we had paid for. The photographer posted some of the shots with her watermark on her page before we even got the shots back, and Psycho copied them all to post on her profile, saying it was the best Mother's Day gift ever. Her baby was not yet born. Scared and angry, we found it best to ignore their request. There was no way we could get DD to go along with spending the weekend at a stranger's house anyway. So, they sued us for full custody and child support. WTF? All hell broke loose when wifey was served papers at work. Immediately, we shut down our FB profiles, because that's how Psycho knew where to send the papers, and told all our friends and family to take down any pictures of DD. But that wasn't enough to stop her. Turns out, in addition to stealing photos, Psycho also made several fake profiles to add friends and family and get information about us. We never added anyone we didn't know, but other family members had. There were 7 fake profiles altogether. When we had them all removed and reported, Psycho started sending her friends and family to attempt to add us and gather more information about us. She showed up at DD's Christmas show at school, when we didn't even tell them where she went to school. She repeatedly showed up at wifey's work to try to get her in trouble, and called the cops on us for several false incidents. The reasons listed by their lawyer for seeking full custody were, because we're lesbians, and that's bad for kids. We abuse DD, never once in our life. We do drugs? Even offered to do a piss test, but she wouldn't spring for it since we would all have to foot that bill. Well, based solely on the fact that over 5 years prior he had signed the VAP, DBD got visitation rights. Wifey retained primary custody, because, duh. Visits were begun slowly so DD could get to know DBD. Eventually, it moved to every other weekend for the whole weekend. But DD never made it the whole weekend. They made her sleep on the floor in their basement, so she never liked staying there for more than a night. The custody settled, we opened a case for support, and of course DBD tried everything he could not to be responsible for support. When he ducked out over 5 years ago, we never asked him for a dime. But, they wanted all this, so we did it all. You wouldn't believe the excuses he'd try. Even though they won, Psycho didn't stop trying to destroy our names online, and attempting to turn everyone from high school still in our hometown against us. She wanted a happy little family, and DD was throwing a wrench in her plans by not calling her mommy right from the get-go. When they showed up at her spring concert uninvited, Psycho demanded DD take her around and introduce her. So DD introduced them as her step-parents. Both of them. She had just turned 6, and was still a little confused by the whole thing. Oh, that was another thing. Because she and DD had the same birthday, Psycho insisted she's supposed to be mine. That's why she came early. One night when Dee Dee was at their house, we get the usual call to come and get her, only it was Psycho's mom on the phone and not DVD. They lived with Psycho's parents and neither drove, so her parents had to take them everywhere. When we get to the pickup point, Dee Dee is in tears and DVD hops into his in-laws' truck without an explanation. Turns out, Psycho lost her cool when Dee Dee didn't want to stay the night again, so she sat Dee Dee down and read her the custody agreement line for line. Then, she looked that 6-year-old angel in the eye and told she could have her mama, that's me, arrested any time she wanted to for not complying with the custody agreement. Psycho was convinced the only reason Dee Dee wouldn't like her is because we told her not to. Dude. I don't want her to like wifey's mom either, but I have no say in who my daughter cares for. Well, for the next week I get to force Dee Dee onto the school bus in tears because she's convinced I will get arrested while she's at school and I won't be there waiting for her in the afternoon. Gods. Just typing that out breaks my heart all over again. Thanks for that, Psycho. But this story ends with some poetic justice. Maybe they were tired for fighting with a little girl, maybe she realized just how badly she had messed up, who knows, but before the next visitation, we got an email from our lawyer explaining DVD wanted to sign over his rights. It had only been 3 months since he enacted them, and allow me to formally adopt DD. We were ecstatic, obviously. We agreed and everything fell into place. She never had to see them again, and wifey and I could shoulder the online attacks, and occasional face-to-face confrontation, from everyone in their family seeing them as the victims. Life got back to normal, and we began to heal. But their story wasn't finished. 2 weeks ago, I got a message from DBD's sister-in-law who never really took part in the harassment. She's married to his younger brother, and just had their first baby. She was hoping we would consider letting DD get to know her baby since they are biologically cousins. That isn't the way we see family in this house, but I understand other people put an emphasis on DNA. It turns out, the 3 kids Psycho ended up having with DBD are no longer allowed to visit his side of the family, and DD is the only biological cousin left. Why? Because DBD sexually assaulted an 11-year-old girl he and Psycho were supposed to be babysitting. He went to prison and Psycho divorced him, banning his entire family from seeing any of the kids. My heart bleeds for the little girl who had her life ruined. But I am human, so forgive me when I say, after watching that Psycho twist my little girl all up inside, I feel satisfied with her serving of karma. Editor's note, u/Rumpleabutter commented, most of this may have been about child support. People hear about others collecting huge monthly child support checks and want their kids for the checks and housing allowance and food stamps. It's sad. They probably thought it would provide a financial means to move out of her parents' house if they were collecting for 2 kids. But as soon as they found out he would have to pay you, he wanted to sign those rights over to get out of paying child support. Basically, a lady we'll call Leech, for reasons made clear at the end, spent a year helping her best friend, Psycho, harass my family and I over a custody dispute. Leech wasn't related to the family at all, just a friend with an affinity for causing drama. She would make fake profiles along with Psycho, and tried to fish information about us out of friends and family. Just some real nasty stuff. Leech would take the online harassment further than Psycho, which never made any sense to me because I never had a personal problem with Leech. We had known each other back in grade school, and were even casual friends. She used our past history to try to weasel into my friends list, but I already saw that she was helping Psycho slander my name online and didn't buy into her malarkey. She then started copying my display pictures and making them into ugly memes. Any post I made public was instantly captured and mocked on her stepmother's support page. Leech was dating the best friend of Psycho's husband. Her boyfriend had a daughter from a previous relationship, and Leech was a proud and attentive stepmother. Most of her identity revolved around being a stepmother. The page on which she posted the memes she made and posts she stole had been running for a number of years and had nearly 10,000 members. She created it herself. She and Psycho also started a handful of other pages for the sole purpose of harassing and mocking us. A couple I had to have legally removed. Police were involved and everything. This had been going on since before March, and for Christmas that year my wife's grandmother got each of the great-grandkids a 3DS. To save some money, she went to a pawn shop for some gently used consoles and games. This is where karma had dealt us a sweet hand. Nana had purchased 4 3DS in total. The one my daughter just happened to get had a memory card inside full of photos. Upon a quick scan, I realized the people looked familiar. It was Leach and her boyfriend. Over and over, dozens of photos, some a little racy. Why else would I be given this opportunity? Of course I was meant to use them, right? Ha ha. I immediately get to work, uploading every photo and file and set up a fake email account with bits of her information to make it look like hers. I joined any and all free dating sites I could think of, even downloaded some apps that aren't advertised as dating, but we all know that's how they are used. In short, I plastered her selfies everywhere. I refrained from using the inappropriate ones because I just didn't feel right about that. Implied loose morals was as far as I wanted to take it. I answered a couple of messages on each site to make it look more authentic, even sharing more innocent enough selfies to prove I was the real deal. A while ago, I had come across Leach's cell number online. She had shared it in a public comment and I was in the process of screen capping any post she made about my family. I had screen capped that comment too, but hadn't done anything with it. I was just gathering and retaining all the information I could, and my patience was about to pay off. After giving a few guys the number, I didn't bother logging on anymore. That was enough damage, I thought. It would be easy enough for her to prove she had never visited those sites, and they should be able to recognize the photos as being taken with the crappy lens of an early 3DS. But then the other boot dropped. After a few weeks, maybe a month, I go snooping on Leach's stepmother's support page to see if she had anything to say about my antics, but it was quiet. Weird. I check out her profile and find all her past posts have been hidden, and the boyfriend scrubbed of all photos available. When I check out his profile, there is this gigantic rant about unfaithful beaches. Oops. Turns out, Leach had been sleeping with her boyfriend's best friends, the guy Psycho was married to, older brother. It had been going on for some time and no one knew anything, not even Psycho. If the boyfriend hadn't confronted her about the random texts she was getting from horny guys, he never would have seen the other texts that were cleverly disguised to hide the affair. Being a self-proclaimed stay-at-home stepmom, he had visitation every other weekend and 2 weeks in the summer. Leach had no interest in holding a job. The boyfriend owned and paid for everything, including her cell phone. When he found out about the affair, he kicked her out of the house and took her phone. He pawned all of it to pay off some of the enormous debt she had put him in. The reason the 3DS was in the pawn shop at all was because he needed some extra cash. It was his 3DS, and he had pawned it for some money for a present for her. He wasn't able to pay it back in time and the shop owner resold the item. That's why the memory card wasn't wiped or anything. I'd say it was meant to be. What did you think? What would you have done differently? Share your opinions in the comments. And if you enjoyed the stories, slap that like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.